Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Knitting for Baby. Thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to knit this little hat for a baby between 3 and 6 months old. It's very easy to make. I say that it's ideal for beginners. Now, to make this little hat, I used light number 3 baby yarn and 4mm knitting needles. You can also make this little hat smaller. Just use smaller knitting needles like I did here with this one. This one I used 3mm knitting needles, and this one here fits a baby between 0 and 3 months. Now for this little hat I did 26 rows instead of the 30 that we do, so you can do the same here for this hat if you don't want this part here to fold. So instead of making the 30 rows that I show you in the video, only make 26 rows, and that way you don't have to fold this part here. Also, if you want to make it for a newborn baby, just use 2.75mm knitting needles or a 2.5mm knitting needle. Okay, so I hope you like it, and without further ado, let's get started, and thank you for watching. Okay, to begin I'll be using these 4mm knitting needles, and today I'm using this light number 3 baby yarn. Now to begin, I have cast on 74 stitches. You can use any method to cast on your stitches. Down here in the information box I'll leave you a link on how I cast on my stitches using a crochet hook, so be sure to check that out. Okay, so here to begin, like I said, I have 74 stitches. The first stitch we're always going to slip, and the last stitch we're always going to purl. Now this baby hat is going to be worked in rows, so here to begin, the first stitch I'm going to slip like this. The next stitch I'm going to knit. The next stitch I'm going to purl. Next stitch knit. Next stitch purl. This is all I'm going to do for this first row. I'm going to knit and purl, knit and purl, all the way to the last stitch. I will meet you here at the end to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end. My last stitch here was a purl. Now my last stitch, I have 2 border stitches going. I have the last one and the front. So we're always going to purl the last stitch no matter what stitch we're in, and we're always going to slip the first stitch. Okay, so there. Now we're going to turn for row 2. We're going to repeat. So this first stitch I'm going to slip like this, and the next stitch I'm going to do the opposite of what I did. So here I purled it. In this row I'm going to knit. So knit. The next one I'm going to purl. Next one knit, purl, knit, purl. Continue like this all the way to the last stitch, and I'll show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end of the second row. Now remember, the last stitch we always purl, so we're going to purl the last stitch, and this is how we finish the second row. Now for the third row we're going to turn this here, and remember we always slip the first stitch, so we're going to slip the first stitch, and here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the opposite of what we did on the previous row. So in this row, this one was a purl. Now in this row here, I'm going to knit the first stitch, or the second stitch in this case, purl the next, knit, purl, knit, purl. Okay, continue like this all the way to the end, and I'll meet you there to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end of the third row. Remember, the last stitch we always purl. Okay, and now we're going to turn for the fourth row. Remember, the first stitch we always slip, and now here we're going to do the opposite of what we did on the last stitch. The last stitch was a purl. In this row we're going to knit the first stitch, or the second stitch in this case. So knit and then purl, knit and purl. So continue like this for this fourth row. I'll meet you at the end of this row to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end of the fourth row. remember the last stitch we always purl. So we're going to purl the last stitch. And there it is. Now, for row 5, we're going to repeat the same thing. Now, this part here is going to be the brim. If you want to leave it as it is, then you can. I'm going to do 2 more rows in the same way that we just did. So here, remember, the first stitch we always slip. And now here, the next stitch we're going to knit. The next stitch we're going to purl, knit, and purl. Continue like this all the way to the end. Remember, at the end you're going to purl the last stitch, then turn, slip the first stitch, and I'll meet you at the end of row 6 to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end of this 6th row. So in total we did 6 rows here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this last stitch, remember, we always purl at the end. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn, and for the next couple of rows we're going to do the same thing. We're going to knit 1 row and then come back and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl. And always remember that the last stitch, no matter what row you're in, you're always going to purl and you're always going to slip the first stitch. Okay, so here to begin, we're going to slip the first stitch here, and we're going to knit all of these stitches all the way to the end. So you're going to knit each one of them. So continue like this, and I'll meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm at the end of the 7th row now. Remember, the last stitch we always purl. And this is how we finish the 7th row. Now for the 8th row, you're going to turn, and in this row you're going to purl each one of the stitches except for the first one where we always slip. So the next stitch you're going to purl, next stitch purl, and every single one of these stitches you're going to purl like this. Okay, so continue like this for this 8th row, and I'll meet you once again at the end of this row to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm at the end of the 8th row. Remember, the last stitch we always purl. And this is how we finish the 8th row. Now, for the 9th row, we're going to turn, and now here you're just going to repeat these last 2 rows that we did. You're going to knit, then purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Remember, the first stitch we always slip, and the last stitch you always purl. So slip the first stitch, and in this row we have to knit every single one of these stitches except for the very last one, which you are going to purl. Then you're going to turn, slip the first stitch, and purl each one of the stitches, including the last one, which you're also going to purl. Remember, we purl the last stitch and we always slip the first stitch. Now, I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do from here on. I need this hat to measure a certain measurement, and at this point I'm not sure how many rows that's going to take. So continue like this and repeat these last 2 rows where you knit every single stitch across except for the last one where you purl, then turn, slip the first stitch, and purl all the way to the very end, and then repeat your row where you knit every single one of the stitches all the way to the end. Okay, so continue like this, and I'll meet you at the end of this row to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end of the 30th row. So in total I knitted and purled for 30 rows, and it's measuring from here to the end here. It measures 5.25 inches, which is about 13 centimeters. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start reducing and shaping the crown. So what I have done here is we have 72 stitches, and I have 2 border stitches going on each side. So I've counted. After the border stitch, I've counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then place the stitch marker. Same thing here. There's 8 stitches between these 2, 8 between these 2, 8 stitches between these 2, 8 between these 2, and 8 between, 8 between, and 8 between, and here we have 9. Remember, we have a border stitch going on here at the end as well, so 8 stitches. So make sure you place your stitch markers accordingly, because what we're going to do in the next row is we're going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then knit 2 together, and then again knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then knit 2 together. And we're going to do this all the way to the end, including the last 2 here. Okay, so here to begin this row, okay, so here I'm going to slip the first stitch. Remember, we're always slipping the first stitch, and here we're going to knit 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to knit 2 together like this. Okay, pass your stitch marker to the other needle right here, and then again knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then knit 2 together. Knit 2 together. Again, pass your stitch marker to this needle and repeat. Knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and knit 2 together. This is all I'm going to do all across, so continue like this, and I'll meet you here at the end to show you how we're going to knit these 2 together and then finish this first row of reductions. Okay, I'm here at the end of this first row of reductions. I have 3 stitches left. Here at the end, remember these last 2 stitches, or these next 2 stitches here, we're going to also knit 2 together. There it is. And now the last stitch, we always purl. Okay, and here's the first row. Now for the second row, you're going to purl across. So remember, the first stitch we always slip, and then we're going to purl each one of these stitches. Pass your stitch marker, and then same thing, you're just going to purl this stitch here. This is the stitch reduction that we did on the other side. So again, just continue and purl across, and I'll meet you here at the end to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end of the second row. This is where we purled each one of the stitches, so now we're going to turn. So for row 3, we're going to repeat the same thing we did on the first row. We're going to knit 5 and then knit 2 together. Knit 5 and then knit 2 together all across. So here to show you again, we're going to slip the first stitch and we're going to knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then knit 2 together. Okay, pass your stitch marker to this needle, and then again repeat. Knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then again knit 2 together. And this is all we're going to do all across. When you finish this row, you're going to turn, then you're going to slip the first stitch. Remember that here at the end, we're going to purl the last stitch after we knit these 2 together. So purl this last stitch, turn, and then slip this stitch, and then come back and purl for the 4th row. So you're going to repeat these 2 rows until we have a couple stitches left. I'd say maybe 1 or 2. So continue like this, and I'll meet you after this part here is done to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end of the 12th row, and I have 2 stitches in between each of the stitch markers left. So now to work this last row, what we're going to do is, remember, we always slip the first stitch like this, and here we're going to knit 2 together like this, and then we can remove the stitch marker. Now knit 2 together and remove your stitch marker, and again knit 2 together. This is all I'm going to do for this 13th row, so continue like this, and I'll meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the end. This last stitch here we're going to purl, so we're all done. This part here is done. Now you can come back and purl the next row, but I'm going to just remove these stitches here and then just tie them. So here to do that, I've already cut my yarn and I left a pretty long tail. So here we're going to pass this yarn through this needle, and here we're just going to remove these stitches like this. Now just pass your yarn, and we're going to close this part here like this. Just pull the yarn and see, that's how it's going to look. So insert your needle here into the last stitch right there and pull through, and we're going to tie a knot. Okay, and there it is. This part here is closed. Now we're going to sew this part here, so we're going to turn this, actually I'm going to leave it like this, so turn it like this, and here we're going to go along this row. This is why I was carrying 2 extra stitches on each side, because we're going to go right here. There's this little bar right across each one of the stitches. This is where we have that stitch in along the very edge, so we're just going to go along the very edge right there, and that's where we're going to pick up each one of the stitches. So my yarn is on this side, so here we're going to carefully and with patience find each one of these stitches here along the side. There's one, let's see, right there. Go on that one, and then go on this side and find the corresponding stitch along the same row, which is this one here, right there. And then find the next stitch along this side, right there. And then find the other stitch on this side right here, and this is all I'm going to do all the way to the very end. This part is the hardest, I think. It's very tedious to find these stitches here, but with patience we can do it. Okay, so continue like this, and I'll meet you once this part here is done to show you what we need to do. And if I come across any things where we need to pay extra attention, then I'll go ahead and come back, but otherwise I'll show you once the hat is done. Okay everyone, as I was sewing this little hat, I realized that it can be made into a little bonnet. Here I have, let's see, I have seamed, let's see, about 7 centimeters, 7.5 centimeters. And then I decided to try it on my little model here, and look how cute that looks. The only thing is that you would need to fold it and then put ties here at the very edge, like something like this. I think that looks so cute, and I think I'm going to do a little hat in the same way, except that I'm going to make it smaller. This is my newborn baby doll, so I think I'm going to make it smaller. So if you like it, give me a thumbs up and let me know if you want me to do that. So I just thought I'd come in and show you that it can be turned into a little bonnet by just sewing maybe halfway. Okay, I'm here at the end now. To finish, we're just going to reinforce this last stitch and then do a little knot here at the very end. And I'm just going to weave my ends, cut my yarn, and do the rest. Now that part here is done. And here's our finished baby hat, and that's what it looks like. There it is. Here's the top. Now you can add a little pom-pom. I'm going to do the bonnet version of this, so stay tuned. I think that was that looked really nice. Now I have my little model here. She wears 3 to 6 months baby clothes. So here it is. This is what it looks like on her. She's got a 15-inch head circumference. So what you can also do is just fold it up like this, and that's what it looks like. I think it turned out super cute, very nice, and it was very easy to make. Okay, so this has been today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.